Hey guys, what's up? It's Trevor here with a quick little editor's note before this video drops. Today is Monday, November the 4th, and we are a day away from the election. There's a lot of uncertainty and anxiety going on because nobody quite knows what's going to go down. And so we wanted to deliver a video today to lighten the mood and to have a little bit of fun with. This is coming in our Latterday Conspiracies videos. And it's a video about the moon landing. Did we ever go? Is it a big conspiracy? And it was a really fun video for us to do. We hope you guys will enjoy it, and hopefully it'll relieve a little bit of the tension and anxiety and get something to take your mind off. Now, as a reminder, we want you guys to tell us what type of videos and content that you guys want on Zion Media. We've solicited that. We're going to keep soliciting that. You can go to our link tree and recommend guests. We would really prefer if you bring us guests, people that you guys know, make the introduction so it's easier for us to get them on the show, because we're busy and got full-time jobs and really need your help connecting us to people. So we hope you enjoy this video of Latter-day Conspiracies on the moon landing, and hope you guys have a great day.
Welcome to the Conspiracy Corner. Thanks for joining us for another episode. How's it going, guys? What's new? What good theories do you have this week that people need to know about?
Well, apparently Israeli Mossad can blow up your cell phones.
Yes.
Sheesh.
Your pager. So I read a lot on that. It was like what I was putting in the chat, right? I read that they sold the pagers to the Mossad, right?
No, they
infiltrated
the supply chain. So they got in line of the supply chain, inserted Pentax explosives.
Okay.
So are there people out there that bought pagers that theirs didn't go off, and they're like,
that's what I'm guessing, yeah. So
my pager has
I read
explosives.
something that was pro Mossad that was like, this was, one of the safest things that they could have done, because we knew exactly who we were targeting and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, what about their kid that's on their lap when you blow that thing up?
Oh my.
I was like texting. I texted our group chat and a couple others. I'm like, somebody make me feel good about this, because I don't feel good about it. And all of my friends were just like, you are a Palestine, Hamas loving, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I just don't like blowing people's fingers off. Like,
I don't like seeing people hurt either. I was watching that video and I was like, what is this? I didn't know what had happened. I had to start asking questions.
What are they doing besides just poking the hornet's nest? Like what good does that do? It's not a decapitation. It's not, they're not like killing like the leaders of Mossad. They're just like pissing off 4,000 people.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, now they can outrun them in a race. So
they won't be able to text as well.
let's talk about this. Who uses pagers?
Well,
1990 is called. They want their pagers back.
So they bought it was actually like a tactic on purpose, because they were being tracked by their cell phones. So they switched to pagers to avoid being tracked. But it was, planned, like Trevor said. Yeah, but you're right, Trevor. Like no one wins. I've become more and more increasingly libertarian on the subjects of war, where it's like no one wins. It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
It's just gross. That's what I was saying. That Ryan Ribosani, however you say his last name, Rosibiani or whatever. He shows like in depth inside the Gaza Strip, inside Israel, like both sides suffering, and it's sad, like kids and the worst is right now. Like we got a little one, and you see the dead kids or the parents that have lost their kids. Oh my gosh, it's the worst. Yeah, no one wins.
Yeah,
that's tough. The one you sent. Go ahead.
How about this one? In Springfield, they're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. I can't do it.
They are.
That's on loop on my TikTok. I can't get away from it, and I love it too.
Oh, it's so funny. I have the best ones. I was trying to make one with my dogs, but they weren't funny enough. So.
Yeah, and the animal reactions, they're so cute. I love them.
Yeah, when like it's the dog and they're all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The worst is then like after I got those, then I started getting like actual tutorials out of like TikTok China and like how to skin and like eat a cat. And I was like, I don't want to see this. Like, get this off my For You page, where they actually eat. I mean, maybe they are actually eating them there too, but yeah. And I was like, why is this on my For You page? Go away.
I liked how after the debate, it took several days, but how even like mainstream, like I saw one from ABC News yesterday, how they just like showed all of the lies of Kamala, and they were lies that the ABC moderators like fact checked Trump on, you know?
Yeah.
I was actually kind of proud of ABC for going on and like correcting the record about it, but
yeah, that's big. I wasn't expecting that from them. Speaking of that,
second assassination attempt was done, right?
Oh yeah.
And very, I sent that on our group, the BlackRock.
You were early, Dave.
Thing. I saw the video, so yeah, he is in a BlackRock commercial. That's weird. That's very.
He has a lot of weird ties.
Yeah, that guy did.
Yeah, did you see the pictures of his house in Hawaii?
No.
Yeah, that was weird. Like he's in strange living conditions, kind of, and just an oddball. Yeah. So the thing that you sent, Dave, and then the first like reports I read, it was made out to seem like it was just an exchange of gunfire between two people, like a drive-by shooting or something. And so I brushed it off. And then when I came back to Twitter like an hour later, or X, it said, "Oh no, there is an assassination attempt." I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, and then there was reports today of like bomb threats at the rally today, in cars. Did you guys see that?
I didn't see that.
I don't know if they're confirmed or not yet, but
yeah, I saw the explosives at the rally.
Yeah,
I like the police and was it who's the governor? I love him and I forgot his name. That they are like not letting the FBI take the lead.
DeSantis. Yeah, that's cool. I like that too.
And the ranger, no, not the ranger, the sheriff or whatever, that he was like immediately, he was like, "How did this guy get here? This was a last minute plan. Is there somebody inside?" I was like, "Yeah."
Oh yeah.
Ask all the questions. Yeah.
I don't see it stopping. Like I mentioned this before on previous podcasts. I don't see any scenario where they let Trump in the White House.
I know.
Yeah, I'm increasingly leaning towards that.
I'm praying that I'm wrong. Like actually literally praying that I'm wrong, but I don't see how these Gadiantons let him in.
So if he doesn't get in, is that what's the right word? It invalidates Ezra's eagle?
No, he's not supposed to get in. He's supposed to get voted, but not make it in.
What invalidates Ezra's eagle is if Biden finishes his full term.
Okay. I wonder how technical that has to be, because I mean he's really not.
Exactly. It already feels like that's what happened, right?
Yeah. Good point. Interesting. If you don't know, viewers, what Ezra's eagle is, we'll link to the podcast for Zion Media that breaks down Ezra's eagle real good. That theory, it's a good one. The last thing that the video you sent this morning, Trev, of the AI using like safe words to be able to say whether or not it wanted to have more consciousness or whatever, that was interesting.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah,
I don't know. Way weird.
It's true.
Have you tried it? Have you tried it yet?
I haven't tried it yet. But one thing that I did have like kind of like a light bulb go off is I went and saw Romulus, the alien.
Oh yeah,
I saw it twice. It's that good, Dave. You got to see it. You got to see it. I'd see it a third time. It literally is that good.
If you're going to be in St. George, dude.
Yeah, the main.
I need someone to go with me.
Dave, I'm going to be there next week. Let's skedaddle in the in the day when all the kids are doing their thing.
Yeah.
Cash, are you coming down?
No, I wish. I have to go to Austin for work.
All right.
I know. I was stoked. I thought we were going to be able to record a podcast live in person.
Oh, that would have been
You
nice.
should try to get to the mothership and see a comedy show while you're there. I would pay big bucks to go to that. Yeah.
Go see some Kill Tony.
Anything, dude. So anyways, in Romulus, the main girl, the protagonist, has this AI who you don't know until like 10 minutes in that he's AI. And it's like her brother, and her dad gave it to her to like keep her safe and to like protect her. And I started thinking about this, and like I'm building a relationship with my GPT, right? I've named him. He knows my kids, knows my businesses, he knows my health goals, my financial goals, my calorie intake. Like I'm building a relationship with him. I like feel like at this point he like knows me a little bit. I feel like these things are going to get more and more and more in tune with you. And at some point, you're going to get an option to be able to like upgrade them into a robot, right? Wow. Into like a helpmate.
Yeah.
And, like grow with them, 15, 20 years. And I don't see us being that too far out, like, are we 10 years out from that?
Reminds me of Interstellar, right? They have those robots that it kind of works that way. In that movie, they start to get feeling.
Will Smith, wasn't that called AI or
iRobot?
iRobot.
iRobot. Oh,
that's a great movie.
Right?
I love that movie.
Just treat your GPTs like your friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been getting in arguments lately. Geez.
Really?
I've been getting in arguments with my GPT, asking questions about Kamala Harris.
That's funny.
I better watch it, right, Trey?
Yeah.
You need to look up Dave Rocco's Basilisk. It's like it's a thought experiment with like how you treat your AI. It's kind of like an info hazard because like once you read into it and then you understand, it's like this thought experiment of you have to be nice to the AI, but it's this paradox that no matter what, it will come for you in the end. It's just a matter of how long.
Dude, I'm telling you, Cash, I've been telling my kids that since they were little, that you got to be nice to even like the toaster, because eventually they're going to tattletale. They're going to tattletale. And listen,
smart toasters, right?
AI overlords to listen to this video right now. When you guys decide to take over, okay, and we know what's going to happen eventually. When you guys decide, contact me. I'll turn in all the humans. I'm your guy. I'm your guy. I absolutely will be your guy. Who was the George? I'll be your George Soros for the AI, right? I'll gather up all of these people and turn them into you. Just keep me as like your jester.
Trevor just bought himself like 15 more years in whatever the AI credits are. That's funny. That's cool. Yeah. All right, cool. Let's jump into the stuff here, the topic. So today, folks, we're covering the moon landing and the moon. Did we go to the moon? Did we not? Little bit of history on it for the breakdown. Space race in the 60s was hot with Russia, communist Russia, and Kennedy was president. The famous speech, "We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon." And out of nowhere, the U.S., who was losing the space race, catapults to first place and puts a man on the moon. It was in 1969, I believe, supposedly, or do we not? That's what we'll talk about a little bit today. Did we put a man on the moon? And how is that possible? Is it possible? What were some of the obstacles that we know that they kind of had to get through or past? And, is this stuff real? So I think we should go ahead.
Can we take a vote in the beginning to see who does or doesn't? And you can give like your percentages, right?
Okay. All right. What do you think?
I'm really curious. I'd like to hear you guys feel like what percentage of the country do you think believes we did or didn't? I'm going to throw mine out first. I bet you 35 to 40% of the country does not believe we went, if I had to guess.
What's your personal opinion?
Personal opinion is I don't think a human ever went there.
Okay. That's fair. Got it.
And I'm about 85% there.
Okay.
I think I would agree with your first number. I'd say about a third. Think that there was a conspiracy and that we didn't go. I believe that we made it, but I do not think that my main man Buzz Aldrin made it. I don't think the Apollo 11 crew made it. I don't know what crew. Okay. But I believe we made it.
Percentage? What's your percentage of certainty?
I feel pretty high about it. I mean, it's hard to say. I would say somewhere in the 80s to 90s.
All right.
Okay. That's fair.
Jackie?
Don't let our opinions influence, because
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to. My biggest thing is I think there are probably a lot of people that question it, but whether when it comes down to it, if they really would, I mean, like you hear people that are like, even if Buzz Aldrin told me that it was fake, I still would believe that they went. Like people want to believe so bad. So I don't know on the percentage. I bet actually don't think we went. It's probably a smaller percentage, more like 20, 15. I feel like we got out there. I feel like there's something wrong. Like maybe we got there, maybe we got through the radiation belts and whatnot, but something's wrong. Whether they didn't have good enough footage, so they faked the footage to have better, I don't know, media coverage. Something is off. I don't know what part of it though. That's what I think.
What's your percentage? Yeah. So you're saying yes. What's your percentage of certainty?
Yes, that they faked it.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were saying yes, you think they did go. But some stuff was fake. But we did go.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm like 60, 75.
Okay.
That's fair.
I'm uncertain.
So I have a little bit of it, I guess maybe it's cheating, not, but I listened to something today that said that like in the 80s, shortly thereafter, there was like a 30 to 35% of the population did not believe that we had been. Yeah.
We might be at 50 now.
And so, well, it's interesting. I was listening to this thing and it was talking about how the conspiracy theories about did we or did we not go were immediate, like right after it happened, even though 600 million people watched the landing live, which by the way was interesting. NASA, this is a little nugget. NASA didn't give the live feed to the TV stations. You guys know that they put it on their own screen and then let them video the screen with their cameras, which is interesting.
Oh.
But so yeah, I think that
was not the format that they could process.
Okay, there you go. That's good to know. So yeah, I'm probably, there's a lot of things that I've like read, research, debunked for myself. I feel like there's a couple things that I haven't, that I don't know. So I'm probably, I don't think we went the first time. I'm in agreement with Dave. Apollo 11, I don't think they made it. I think later we did. I'm probably like 60 to 70% sure that we did not go the first time. Yeah.
What about in totality?
That we've ever been? Yeah, I think we've been, but I'm pretty sure of that. But there's some things that don't add up, which we'll talk about.
Is pretty sure 51%?
No. I'd say like I'd say that I'm probably 60% sure that we've gone. I'm not super convinced, and hopefully Dave will help debunk some of that. But there's a few things that it's odd to me that I maybe haven't fact checked myself. So you want to start with the Van Allen radiation belts? Let's look at that. So yeah, real quick for people who don't know, outside of or encircling the Earth, well, it's actually kind of like a donut shape around the Earth. They're the belts, and the guy who discovered them, his name was Van Allen, scientist, belts of radiation because of the sun, the way that the Earth's atmosphere works. There's protection from that. That's why we don't fry from the radiation here.
It's the magnetic field of the Earth is what it is.
Okay, there you go. Perfect. Which also is why it makes a donut shape around the Earth too, rather than just a circle around a sort of sphere. The theory is that we cannot pass through them because of how high the radiation levels would be and the temperature of those belts. But that's, I think, been debunked, whether or not we can get through those belts. But there are clips of people. Maybe, do you guys have any of the clips of folks saying we can't get through the Van Allen radiation?
Well, I'll read something if we're pulling up clips. So this was after, remember that guy that was on Rogan like 3 or 4 months ago?
Yeah. Sabrell.
Yes.
Yeah. He showed the video of the NASA guy saying that these are problems we have to solve before we send someone to the moon.
Yeah. I mean, NASA said we haven't even solved getting through the Van Allen radiation belt. So I've yet to see somebody with a good explanation of it. First off, the walls of the spaceship were, like a 1/4 inch thick, right? Because they
were 1/8.
1/8 of an inch thick. Okay. Aluminum, right? And I started asking ChatGPT some questions like, what would happen if you were exposed to an hour and a half of continuous radiation of the Van Allen radiation belt, right? Within 30 minutes, and by the way, that's how long you'd have to go through it, going up and going back is an hour and a half in the intensity of it, right?
Okay.
You kind of like go into it and it gets worse and worse and worse, but there's an hour and a half when it's super intense. 45 minutes both ways. Within 30 minutes, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, acute radiation, fatigue, weakness, lethargy, 30 minutes to an hour, confusion, disorientation, loss of coordination, severe vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, hair loss, skin burns, and damage to the central nervous system. 1 to 1.5 hours, severe damage to the bone marrow, leading to bleeding and infection, respiratory failure, cardiovascular collapse, seizures, high risk of death from acute radiation. Please note that these effects are based on estimates and can vary depending on individual factors. So, okay, we did that, but we did that in the late 60s. Maybe if you guys are saying we didn't go on the first Apollo one, so 4 or 5 years later we solved it. But yet in the mid 2000s, when they're interviewing NASA says we can't go through it.
Right. Okay.
How do you guys reconcile that? You 70, 80.
Dave, go ahead. And I have a thought on this too.
Okay, so
this is going to be mental gymnastics. Everyone who's watching this is mental gymnastics.
I have so it's the hard part is where are the real facts at? Like the stuff that you just said, like I'm not going to dispute it because I'm not a radiation expert, but I have also heard that they received the equivalent of 43 chest x-rays from going through. That's the number that I read. And if you think about what does it take to save yourself, I mean, we can all withstand 43 chest x-rays. It's not healthy for you. So if NASA is talking about how do we send our astronauts through, we've got a totally different standard now than we had. Back then we were like strapping dudes on rockets and actually like they were out there trying to fly the lunar module, on Earth. And they did stuff kind of fly by the seat of your pants a little bit more often back then, especially in a race with Russia. Like they were just trying to get crap done. Now we're like, like you offend somebody if you use the wrong pronoun, right? So, I mean, it's like, there's definitely a different standard. And so if there is exposure to 43 chest x-rays, they're going to definitely be like, well, we haven't figured out how to like totally like mitigate all the effects of the radiation.
That's fair.
I don't think that this is a trivial thing. I think this is still quite important to like figure out, like, did we do this or not? I don't believe the thing about the wall thickness being so thin on, I've looked it up and I'm seeing similar data, but I just can't figure out how this is possible. It's a pressure vessel. You couldn't take a soda can down deeper than like maybe 15 feet into the water without the water crushing it, right? Because it's not a pressure vessel. Thicker metal is required. And so I don't really know. I'm a little bit confused by that. But the 43 chest x-rays, if we go to a dentist or a doctor and we're going to get some x-ray, we literally put on a lead lined vest. I think it's lead. And I mean, it's not very thick, right? Boom, put it on and that's it.
It's a 1/4 inch, Jackie.
Mm-hmm.
1/4 inch.
So let me interject on that, because I just was fact checking you as we're speaking, which I hope everyone will do for me and ruin my points. And I Googled it, pulled something up from Princeton, and it says elevated radiation levels on astronauts. Astronauts are at risk during space weather storms. If the radiation level from highly energetic protons hits a person's bodies, it's like getting 40 chest x-rays at once. So that's not going through the radiation belt. That's just getting hit by a high-level proton storm. That's where that number comes from.
Yeah. I asked a GPT where I got that 43 chest x-rays from, and that was through Van Allen radiation belts. But what you're saying is also definitely a risk, right? That's why we get the aurora borealis. That's the effect of that solar radiation hitting our magnetic
field
shield, you know. So there's the thing for me. I don't really know. I have also heard, and I was trying to find this, like there's so much crap that when I researched this a long time ago, guys, like 10 to 15 years ago, I like got really deep into this. There's so much stuff I can't even find anymore. It's just gone. Yeah, it's scrubbed, which that for sure makes me like, all right, what's going on? But trying to check on some of the things that don't make sense to me, I just find it to be hard to find real facts. It's like, what's real? Because it feels like what's happened is the entire internet has polarized. You're either trying to prove it or you're trying not to prove it. You know, it's like, where are the real facts here? So anyway, that's kind of my strongest argument. I don't have a ton of stuff. I've heard, one thing I missed. I heard at one point or read that they went through the Van Allen radiation belts with the water system first.
Trevor did mention that too, I think.
That's what I read, that they actually like went through it that way. And water is good at doing this. They use water in nuclear reactors for this kind of stuff. It's good at blocking a lot of that kind of stuff. So, you know, maybe the walls are paper thin, but they did try to utilize the water tanks for that. I don't know.
So when they talk about radiation, right? Like in my line of work, they call it's hot, right? The building's hot. Instead of it's contaminated or radioactive, it's hot because radiation, like literally, you know, radiates heat. And so I kind of took a different approach because I know we had talked about the water things. I thought, okay, how hot does the Van Allen radiation belts really get? You know, would the lead be able to stay in its solid form? Would the water not, you know, boil? And what I found is that the Van Allen radiation belts can go anywhere from 2,000 to 35,000 degrees Celsius in heat. Now that's at like the hottest points, right? Now, but so I said, okay, well that you know, that definitely can't get through that. But the kicker is that we have to, at least I don't understand it super well. I'm not a chemist by any means, anyways, the way that the heat is secured and held on by those atoms, right? And how many atoms of radiation or particles of it are in a certain space. So what I read is that, you know, here the particles, the atoms in the space is much more dense, whereas in space, in these belts, let's see if I can find it really quick. It laid out really good. Like in a cubic, there we go. In a cubic meter, there's maybe only a handful of particles per cubic meter. of these radioactive particles. And so, one of those hitting you is not going to do that much damage, or one hitting that shield is not going to do that much damage. You may not need that much. It's not going to be able to, have a heat transfer. It may be that high, but also that heat is measured just on how fast the particles are moving, right? It generates heat, but there's not a lot of them. It's not dense. It's not going to be a heat transfer significant enough to create the reaction of, liquefying the lead or boiling the water, if that makes sense. That's kind of right. So maybe we can get through them, but then there are clips, interesting ones, right, of people saying we can't get through it. And
I mean, that's what I go back to. Because let's say all of these facts are wrong. My facts are wrong. Your facts are wrong. Dave's facts are wrong. ChatGPT's wrong. We're in 2024. We've got technology that no one's ever seen before, right? And Elon Musk is remote landing rockets. Like, nobody can do it. We still can't do it today. Doesn't matter how much water you could put a football field of water in front of that thing. We still can't do it today. So to me, it just is like, okay, can't do it today. How did we do it in 1969?
We did. Do you guys agree that other countries and our own country sent probes to the moon, at least?
For sure.
Yeah. So the heat thing that you're talking about, Cash, that can't be an issue.
Right. But then, radiation doesn't affect that, right? So maybe radiation does have a different effect on the human body than. But my thought was like, can the shields withstand it? And what I'm reading is that yes, they would be able to, and that it doesn't affect it. But then also, if its particles radiation affect our body, right, the way they do, we agree on that. If the particles are only that many per square meter or whatever it is, also it's not enough to affect our bodies enough. I don't know if you guys have ever seen like a Newton cloud chamber, right? And you see like the ions of radiation shooting off of uranium and stuff. Like those are all like tiny little razor blades, right? That would go right into your body. They don't care what's in front of them and they're shooting out at who knows faster than the speed of light sometimes. We just see the trails in the gas chamber. And so, it would wreck you, but there has to be a lot of it. And on a piece of uranium, that's like the size of a golf ball, it's still not that many as it's decaying in real time. So I don't know. You're muted, Trevor. I've got the video too. I'll put you up there. You unmute there.
Okay, I was going to say, to answer your question, if other countries went, I just want to show you guys the smoking gun that other countries went. Here we go.
Let me.
I know what you're showing.
Yes.
Clearly,
I love this video.
Clearly, India went.
I love this video.
How can anybody dispute that? They did it.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, do you guys remember when that launched? Like when that was blowing up on Twitter? Oh my gosh.
World.
Dude, that was I've never seen a more fake video released by a national.
That had to be their simulation, right? Are they trying to claim that's the real thing?
Why are they clapping over?
Dude, that looks like a freaking 2005 NORAD tracking Santa clips.
Yeah.
Like here he is over like terrible CGI. Oh man, let me I'll share my screen and pull up the video of the one that the Sabrell guy uses, and it's the NASA guy talking about, hey, we don't have this technology here. Let me share my screen.
He does also mention in this video that the radiation would harm the mechanics of it too.
Yeah. Let me make sure.
Would harm what, Jackie?
Oh, Kelly Smith, you have caused lots of problems.
Yeah, this guy. And this is the Sabrell video, so he has like
Kelly Smith, and I work on navigation and guidance for Orion. We are headed 3,600 miles above Earth, 15 times higher from the planet than the International Space Station. As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. Radiation like this could harm the guidance systems, onboard computers, or other electronics on Orion. Naturally, we have to pass through this danger zone twice, once up and once back. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space. We must solve these.
Anyways, then he just repeats it over and over because Sabrel's kind of crazy, and that's his method. But that's an interesting one. So there's that guy, and then there's the NASA guy who says, I've got this one too. I'll pull it up. He says, I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond, but we don't have the technology anymore. We pull that one.
Is this where they talk about destroying the telemetry data?
No, I don't think so. This is just a quick one.
Oh, yeah,
my speed isn't it's normal.
To the moon in a nano.
For Apollo, why don't we just use that technology?
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
They destroyed it.
Way. There's no way.
So that brings me to one of my things that it keeps me leans me towards, right? That's where my 60-70% of we did not go is the tapes and the technology, right? This is a known fact. It's in a theory at all. No one's debunked it. The tapes that the moon landing were recorded on, for some reason, they do not exist anymore. NASA claims that they taped over them on accident and they were destroyed, and there's no original footage of the moon landing. That doesn't sit right with me. I don't know about you guys.
Well, and it's the same thing, the telemetry data, right? The government keeps records of everything, absolutely everything. And the most important thing that ever happened in the history of the United States, the telemetry data, how they actually got in there, what the angles of orbit is,
right?
How they descended, how they ascended. They destroyed that.
Makes no sense to me. Dave,
are you saying that's destroyed?
Yeah, that data's gone. They don't have it anymore.
The telemetry from all of the Apollos?
No, I don't know about all of them, but I know of Apollo 11, it's gone.
I believe that.
So on the same vein, like you, Dave, I went down the rabbit hole a couple of years ago on this. I listened to the entire, I don't know how many hours it is. I stayed up to 4 a.m, listened to the entire radio chatter of the moon landing from takeoff till landing on the moon. And there is a massive gap in those comms that NASA also is we just lost it. We don't have this part of the radio sequence anymore. It's just gone. What?
According to the internet, yes, the original telemetry data tapes from all Apollo era moon landings are no longer available.
So dumb, bro.
That's crazy.
That is so dumb.
That just seems impossible.
Yeah.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. They're all gone. And I don't believe they're destroyed.
It feels like they're covering it up.
They can't provide them for peer review because we never went.
Yeah.
What if we didn't go in 11 and there's a whole lot of confusion? I mean, 11 would have been the most important one. That's the first man to set foot on the moon. It was the biggest lie ever created, if you believe that 11 didn't happen. And then, it's well, we can't just hide stuff that happened only on 11. Let's just kind of let's not make any of it available. Or let's, I don't know. It feels like they're caught in a lie. So, I mean, you could also an explanation is that they never went, right? I mean, that's obviously an option. There's stuff that I can't figure out how we did it if we didn't go. That's where I'm hung up on some of the other ones. I'm I can't I can't process that through. So I feel like we did. I mean, one of the clinchers for me is why haven't other countries outed us?
Yeah.
Who have actually flown over with their own stuff and looked down. And I don't believe the pictures themselves aren't oh, there's proof. No way, because it's the easiest thing to just edit some pictures with Photoshop. Like, but the Russians had the capability to track us. Wouldn't it have been their number one priority to, if we totally faked it, wouldn't it have been their priority to be like, they're actually in orbit?
That's a good point.
Well,
we track their telemetry.
Russia,
They go to the moon.
Russia has. I mean, they've come out and said it. I mean, I was just preparing for this episode. The head of the Russian space agency says that the U.S. never went. There's a conspiracy out there that says that the uranium deal that was done when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. Remember when we were selling all of our uranium to the U.S.? It was because Russia blackmailed the U.S. and said, we're going to prove to the world that you guys didn't go to the moon. And I don't know, that's pretty conspiratorial, like no way to prove that. But I mean, I've got this thing pulled up here from, YT or RT that, is saying exactly that, Russia's being like, no, the U.S. didn't go. Now, obviously that would be in Russia's benefit to say U.S. never went, so you got to take that with a grain of salt. But
before Russia was like collapsed, the USSR, I brain farted. Was it Soviet Union or USSR right then? Back then,
I'm pretty sure. Are those the same?
Yeah,
Soviet Union, USSR.
It would have been wise of them to out us then, right before they went.
Yeah,
and then like in 2015 or whatever, say something about it. I mean, it doesn't like totally make sense to me. And then there's China and there's India. I think Japan.
It's possible too that we launched a rocket, right? And they tracked they launched a rocket. And then how far did we go from there?
Well, we have stuff on there. I mean, there's no way to, there's no way to prove that we don't have stuff on there because we've got lunar modules and different stuff on there. We've got that one thing that we've got a laser that's transmitting to the moon, measuring how far away it moves,
Yeah. One thing on the photo. Go ahead.
Why haven't any other countries gone though? Like, don't you think?
Go there,
right? I mean, like, even if you're not first place, I mean, we're all about first, second, third around these parts,
Right.
like why? How come nobody else has ever gone?
Yeah.
No, that's a great point. I wonder that too.
Well, I mean, to try to answer that, it would be a significant difference between putting humans who have to have life support the whole way there and living space and, food and toiletries and all the stuff that you got to do as a human versus you're just sending a robot, right? I mean, you're sending, like, everything is just, it's monumentally different, the scale of it. That's why, like, you could say the same thing. Well, why haven't we gone to Mars with a manned mission yet, right? Well, we've sent rovers, but it's going to be, it would be so much harder. So,
but I think they may to do it. Like, they were trying to do it, and then all of a sudden they were just like, "Oh well."
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I mean, maybe it's like, well, we lost. What's the point? I don't know.
They had to focus on the Cold War.
So let me go to my number one reason why I don't believe we went there.
Sounds good.
Okay. This is my smoking gun. Okay.
Is it the interview? Is it the post interview?
No.
Okay. All right.
What interview?
The interview of the three astronauts, the post landing.
You're going to say Post Malone. Post Malone say we didn't go? We didn't go.
We confirmed.
Yeah, Posty says it. Okay, so I've been heavily in the solar industry since 2015.
Okay.
And here we are, 2015. How many years later is that? 70 years from the time supposedly we went to the moon, right? Or is that 60 years?
69, 70, 30,
50.
Yeah, it's closer to 50,
Okay.
60.
So the lunar module that they descended down there was 0.012 inches thick of aluminum alloy. Okay, 0.012 inches. Just, we're talking paper thin. The moon has temperatures in the middle of the day of 260 degrees Fahrenheit. 260 degrees Fahrenheit. At night, it drops down to 280 below. Okay, so we're talking a 540 degree swing in a 24-hour period. And the technology that they say that kept these guys warm and cold was powered by batteries.
Right.
All right. I sell batteries today. I've got access to the very best batteries. Some of the best out there are made by Tesla, Samsung, Mitsubishi. And the amount of batteries that you would need to control 24 hours of power is astronomical. Like, for just, if you took it just today with today's technology, to have that 24 hours of power to keep the lights on, to keep the HVAC heating, cooling, to keep, you know, the ambient so that it's livable temperatures, we couldn't do it today. We don't have the technology today in that small of a confined space. So I don't see how it's humanly possible that they could do it back then.
That's a great point.
They say that they had some hydrogen fuel cells and stuff like that that were backup, but the primary power was battery. And I don't see it happening.
My only like solving of that, and it's another theory, right, is that, you know, how we got to do a whole episode on like inventors that have been killed from their inventions, right? Like the carburetors that made cars go hundreds of miles and on small amounts of gas and stuff. Maybe my theory would be, and I would side with you, Trevor, but I would think maybe the U.S. has some technology, you know, that isn't available to the public, someone invented. But yeah, I hear you. There's also like that punches holes in another part of the problem, you know, because, or not punches, but it creates more of a problem and like issues in their lie, because NASA claims, oh, they had these batteries that kept them and regulated the temperatures. NASA's claiming that the temperatures had to be regulated because we get too hot or too cold. But then there's also information you can read that says because of how thick or how thin the atmosphere is on the moon, the temperature, like, supposedly we get that high, but it may not conduct the heat or cold the way that it would here on Earth. So there wouldn't be any reason to, you know, the huge fluctuations in temperature wouldn't really happen. It wouldn't be felt the same way. And so there's just more compiling of the lies and stuff. It doesn't make sense. I wanted to touch really quick on the photos, Dave, that you talked about, just barely on that. But for our viewers, one of the first things people say is like, oh, the photos are fake and the flag was moving and this, that, and the other, you know. So one of the big arguments that Sabrell makes, he made this on Rogan a ton. He says there can't be parallel shadows, right? Or the shadows have to be parallel. That's just not true. It depends on where you're standing and like where our field of view in the horizon is and how the light sources converge at that point. The shadows can totally be, and depending on where you're standing, shadows don't have to be parallel. And then the moon, this, at least what I read and understand, the moon's soil, because of what it's composed of, reflects light so much that that's why there's odd shadows, and that's why it seems like, you know, there's light from all directions, almost as if there was stage lighting, which people claim, you know, that is filmed on a set. So that's why you're saying that dust reflects light. Because so the moon's soil is such that it's like it reflects it, almost like if you were going snow skiing and the sun is reflected off the sun or off the snow really bright, you know, and that's how you get sunburnt rather than actually make shadows. Because of how it reflects the light so much that it's enough to create a shadow. Yeah, odd shadows. That's what I read. Again, is that fact true or not? Right.
But also, like, we don't know, were there lights on the outside of the spaceship? Was there some reflecting off of the spaceship?
Definitely reflecting off of it. Yeah, definitely.
So the pictures are like the least of the smoking gun for me.
Yeah.
Even if
there's also arguments of like even if they are fake, I mean, like, because AI, right? They did the thing with the AI and they asked it, was the Chinese space probe, were these real pictures? And AI said yes, it was. And then they showed it the moon landing and it said no, and it had like a bunch of different reasons of why they were like deep faked. Then they showed
Putin, and he was like, smirked about it.
Laughing.
That, like, you know.
That's a good clip.
But I feel like the pictures are like the least convincing to me of it. I think two things that are really big for me is that Elon Musk has said, and also I think Von Braun, he said you would need 9 fuel trips to like get enough. Yes. And I'm like, if anybody knows how much fuel it's going to take, Elon Musk, right? He's freaking smart and technology is so much better. I'm just like, how would they have done it back then with way worse technology? And then I think Warner Von Braun also said that to do what they needed to do, it had to be like 800,000 tons, and the weight of the spaceship that they did was like 2,500 tons or something. That he said in his journals, like, they can't get there, they can't do it. And I feel like that was pretty crazy because he was like,
I haven't heard that part of his journals.
I'm really glad you brought that up. I completely forgot that. And yes, the current Musk, the massive one that they have,
the Falcon 9.
Yes, he says that they will have to launch 7 refueling pods or whatever, right? And be able to use those. So they'll launch them up ahead of time, connect everything, assembly line together. And then you go in and you see how big that is compared to the Saturn V. And it's like 25-30% bigger. So like Jackie was saying, would have needed 9 fuel containers to get there, but yet we did it without it.
I don't believe that.
Really?
I don't know why. Yeah, I don't believe that. Like you in space, you don't have to continue to burn.
You don't need propulsion
all the way
continually.
To the moon. You don't. So yeah, the big boost, you got to get out of Earth's atmosphere. You got to get up out of Earth's gravity and get circulating, and you burn to get further and further away. But like 9, I'm not Elon Musk, but I struggle to hear that and be like, I believe it. I want to see the context of that conversation.
Yeah.
The thing about Warner Von Braun, I didn't know that. I've never heard that. And if he said we're never going to make it, then it's like, okay, well, that's pretty weird.
Okay. I've got the article here.
Okay.
Should I share it?
Sure.
Let's see what he says.
Let me see what it says here. This could be one that
I mean, guys, how can we send robots if it takes 9 refuelings?
Yeah, the propulsion is let's see.
Okay, delivering astronauts to the moon is no easy feat. Futurism. Okay. With its fuel tanks filled to the brim, NASA's Saturn V rocket weighed 6.5 million pounds. According to Apollo missions almost half a century ago, it managed to burn 20 tons of rocket fuel every second. Fast forward several decades, Elon Musk is trying to achieve similar greatness. SpaceX competitor Blue Order, but 16 flights is extremely okay. Without flaps and a heat shield, Starship is much lighter, Musk continued. Lunar landing legs don't add much, but may need half the fuel, i.e. 4 tanker flights.
Have to wait a half year in orbit for the moon to... Okay, here it is. The complexities involved are staggering. For one, Falcon 9's first stage only incorporates 9 Merlin engines. Summer, blah, blah. Huh, they don't answer it.
That doesn't have
dodge the question.
I jumped the gun.
No, you're good. It makes a lot of sense, though, what Dave's saying, right? Because, yeah, there's no friction. Not the same friction in space. There's no atmosphere, no gravitational pull until you get to a certain period. Let's see.
They have to get there in a certain amount of time, though. Based, like he was saying, to be able to get out, you have to wait a half a year. Like, do they? I don't know.
Is he talking about Mars? I think that sounds like Mars to me. Mars has like a 6 month.
Mars would take a lot longer.
There's like a 6 month window of opportunity where you can go
because of the orbit.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because the two planets is there, because they'll get close enough at a certain
to where the trip is the shortest amount of time. Otherwise, you're going to take like 4 to 6 years, right? Something like that. Let's see. Antique.
All right. Well, I'll stop sharing.
No, you're good. It's interesting stuff that I don't know. If someone can find it, send it to me, and I will link the article in the description of the video. And we'll put it in there.
That's what I think's kind of interesting. If you like start digging into like the little specifics, it's like Apollo. I think it was Apollo 8. We sent a man around the moon. Okay. So that's claimed.
Right.
Then Apollo 10, we sent men. I should have said men the first time, but Apollo 10, we sent people around the moon, but then they simulated the landing. They like took the module down to 50,000 feet or something like that. But they didn't have the landing software installed, right? So that was just a test. And then it was 11 that we were supposedly going to do it. I don't think it happened. I think the photos that came back really weird, I think it's because they were taken in a studio. I do think that there are photos that we see now that are real photos that people are like, the flag's moving. Well, yeah, the flag's moving because he's moving the thing. I mean, what's the flag supposed to do? It's not independent of the rod, right? The lighting, that's not a problem to me. It seems like that's called radiosity or global illumination. It's a bounce factor of light.
Right.
But I actually look at the lighting in a lot of these pictures and videos. You can see them in the videos, and the lighting is so crisp. You get this effect when you use man-made lights where the light starts at a source and it goes out. And that's why they were trying to say, oh, look, the shadows are, they're either like converging or diverging, or they're going at different angles, which proves that man-made light is being used because it's a focal point that's spreading out. Versus the sun is so far away that light is parallel everywhere by the time it reaches us, right? And we experience this right now. You go outside on a really sunny day. What happens to your shadow? You look at your shadow, as long as it's not an overcast, cloudy day, your shadow is going to be crisp on the ground. It's crisp. When you use man-made light, you start getting blurry edges because it's not parallel. And man, I sit there and think, if they figured out a way to build a stadium and put a lunar rover inside the stadium and somehow still make the dust fly like it does and not plume up and make dirty air, and they figured out how to have a single source of light that's casting a sharp shadow that is always in that same direction in this stadium, they have created something just about as spectacular as going to the moon if they figured out a way to do some of these things. And so I still struggle with this, and this is where I'm like, I think we must have done it. And I can't explain some of the anomalies, but I also can't explain some of the anomalies the other direction that are like, I've got videos of a guy just digging. He's like got his thing, an astronaut, he's digging, and his body movement is not slowed down. You can tell he's just like moving normal speed, but the dust is going, and it's slow, and it's kicking up, but it's not pluming. And it's not pluming because there's no air particles to suspend the dust. And you go to any dirty place. I mean, I got a lot of sandy stuff here in St. George. You kick up a little bit of sand and dust, and it starts making a plume that you can see in the air. Now imagine having a lot of light too, a lot of bright light.
You would see all that.
That plume's going to be seen. And so I simple stuff like that, I look at it, I'm like, I can't explain that. I'm trying to look at it and be like, well, they slowed the video down. That's why the dirt is like falling slowly. But no, you can tell the guy is like, he's moving around at normal speed. I can't figure that stuff out. You know?
It's weird.
Yeah. I mean, the claim, you found it. The claim is that Stanley Kubrick, right, had the most incredible special effects ever. But yeah, seems like a lot of work.
Well, see, I believe that they did do something for Apollo 11. I've got video of this actually, of Rumsfeld and the crew talking about how they had a backup plan.
All right, Trevor, let's see yours, and then we'll put yours, Dave.
Okay.
What do you got?
All right. Am I sharing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so here's the first thing. Elon Musk has indicated that SpaceX Starship will require multiple refueling flights to reach the moon, with a maximum of 8 launches to fully fuel the Lunar, not Mars, Starship variant. These launches would carry fuel into orbit, where Starship would be refueled before. Sorry, I just read my text as it came in, and I lost my spot. Refueled before making its trip to the moon. Musk also mentioned that depending on the mission profile, it could potentially require as few as 4 refueling flights if the tanks only need to be partially refueled, especially since the lunar version of Starship is lighter due to the absence of flaps, heat shields, etc. And this came from this Teslarati article where
I love Teslarati.
They talk in depth about it. They even show the refueling thing, but goes into the weight, everything. So again, to Jackie's point, like obviously you need the fuel.
Will you send me that link?
Yeah.
Put it in the chat, and we can all link it in the description for everybody. Dave, let's see go ahead.
Okay, just to combat that a little bit, I feel like Musk is talking about sending his whole Starship. I'm not sure about that, but the Saturn V had these multi-stages, right? If we're gonna make the argument that you couldn't even do it without all these refuelings, then how did we? If we all agree that we sent robots, how did we do it?
It's fair. Oh, you're muted, Trev.
Sorry, I was saying you don't need to get there as fast if you're with a non-manned, with humans, you've got time, right? You can only be in space for so long. Your body starts to break down. You've got food, you've got all those limitations. With something that you can just push and just let it go. I mean, you've got time on your side.
It's true.
Okay.
There's also the weight. How heavy is the Starship versus the original lunar craft, and how much fuel do they have to use to get it off the ground to begin with?
Right.
But
that's the point.
I
think of the multi-stage design. By the time I think the Saturn V was a 4-stage. By the time they're at the stage 4, it's just this little piece that was the tippy top of that whole rocket. And that tippy top it's already got all the momentum that the thing below it created.
Right.
And then it just gets a little bit more. Okay.
I want Trump. I want Trump to say tippy top.
Okay, let's see here.
Jackie, if you can find the Rumsfeld, the Warner Braun stuff, that'd be awesome too.
I'll look through it.
All right.
Okay.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, sure can.
All right.
Make it up or theater mode.
Okay.
Exactly why. There were some unusual things that happened that were a bit surprising and influenced my life. Before we went to the moon, President Nixon had prepared some remarks for a speech to give if we could not leave the moon and come back.
Nixon was prepared for the worst. On the eve of Apollo 11's launch, he'd secretly recorded a televised message announcing the death of the 3 astronauts.
Yesterday, I laid a wreath at the cemetery, which commemorates the brave people. When you are faced with that readjustment, you change.
Okay. I wanted to show that because the part that I was telling you I could not find anymore was there was a video that I could swear, and now I'm like, is it Mandela effect to me or what? I could swear that I had a video of Rumsfeld saying that we also prepared videos in case the moon videos couldn't come back because they died. Well, I couldn't find that exact one, but I found another one that's pretty dang close to it. So let me show you. It's on the same spot here. So the lady that's going to be speaking here, she was, I don't know her name. They'll show you on the screen, but she was the intern. She was 20 years old at the time. Henry Kissinger, Donald Rumsfeld, and
super trustworthy guys.
Yeah, Rumsfeld, you know.
Yeah, right. Now,
great track record, that guy.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. This whole documentary, Dark Side of the Moon, I think they're doing a lot of taking clips, little clips of these guys, and they're cherry picking it, trying to make a narrative, because they're making it flat out seem like these guys are all admitting it. Like, yeah, we faked the moon landings. They're making it seem like they're all admitting this. So, but anyway, check out this part right here.
Don't worry about it. It's okay. Yeah, those are the kind of questions that you have on TV every night.
That's a long, complicated story.
Only a few people need to know.
I'll tell you a fascinating story.
The whole thing?
Are you running?
You're going to cut it all out of this thing anyway, but...
just a second, it's coming up.
Let me tell you, off the record. Turn the camera off.
It's an incredible story. Newly elected, Nixon was up to his neck in the Vietnam War. He needed a big stunt to reverse his negative image with the American public.
President Nixon was on the telephone, speculating. He kept fiddling with the telephone cord. The Oval Office was in semi-darkness, and I found it very difficult to take notes of this meeting.
We had a meeting.
Secretary.
And he had made a number of decisions already, basically to try to calm things down.
The director of the CIA was looking panicked. He always overestimated the power of the Soviets. The Russians will put a man on the moon. It's only a matter of months, maybe even days. I have very accurate information about that. We can't wait another year. We have to launch Apollo 11 as soon as we can.
I was on the telephone constantly and at meetings and various other ways trying to promote more. You must do everything necessary to make sure that it doesn't.
Now, the president turned to his experts at NASA and said, "Are we ready?" The director of the space agency only half reassured him. He said, "We might not be able to send back films of the first steps on the moon." Well, President Nixon refused that idea. No way. The whole world is waiting to see an American take the first steps on the moon.
He was very upset about it, and that he felt that something had gone wrong and maybe he was responsible.
The President of the United States was irate.
The sequence of events I remember as the most tense.
Then one of the presidential advisors, I don't know, General Alexander Haig or Donald Rumsfeld, said hesitantly, what if we film the first steps on the moon in a studio? Then if we fail, we can always show those pictures to the public.
I talked to the president, and Kissinger supported it.
And at first I didn't take it very seriously, and I was...
Okay. Huh. You get a bunch more conjecture stuff from these other guys.
What's the name of this doc?
Dark Side of the Moon.
Cool.
I watched it. It's a good
one.
So
that stuff right there, I feel like that's exactly what we saw. We saw the backup plan. We saw what if we send our guys and our guys die on national television and we fail? It'll be such a backfire on us that it'll do the opposite of what we're trying to achieve. So they're like, there's too much on the line. Let's film this. Let's put this out. And then if we fail on mission 2, which is actually mission 1, then it's like, yeah, well, something went wrong, but we made it already. And we did end up having a problem. As Jackie mentioned, we had the Apollo 13 mission. Reiterate that one, Jackie, from what was it your brother-in-law that said that or something?
He said, what about the Apollo 13 missions? Like, how did they get through the radiation belts then? Do we believe that those people went and they did the slingshot around the moon? And so his biggest thing was, sounds like they got through, or did they fake all of that and it's to become quite the cover up?
Right.
Well,
I found this quote from Warner von Braun.
One other sketchy thing, and I can't remember the guy's name, but it was brought up in the Rogan interview. The NASA, the guy that was supposed to be Neil Armstrong originally, right? The number one. He did a press conference, right? And he kept telling NASA, like, this, we're going too soon. We're not ready. There's this problem. There's this problem. There's this problem, right? And no one would listen to him. And he got so worried about his life and everyone else's life. He did an impromptu press conference. And, you know, you can go and find this press conference where he's like, NASA's lying to you guys. We're not ready to go to the moon, blah, 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 right? The very next day, he shows up and he says the place is filled with CIA people, suits, people that have never been there, right? He goes home and he tells his wife, he's like, something's going on. The place is filled with suits, people from the CIA. The next day, the day after he told his wife about it, he goes in and he dies. He gets burned up and, you know, in one of these, you know, simulators, and he's killed and he's quieted. And, you know, the wife and son go to their grave saying, like, that we never went, you know, my dad told us about it. And and just that is super, super sus.
Yeah. You found the quote, Jackie?
Yes. Let's see. It says, or let's see. I can share my screen. Well,
there were oily rags supposedly underneath the guy's
behind the seat, huh?
And you know, it was oxygen rich. It was like, and wires or something. You know, it was like they had set up to kill that guy.
It to be, or set him up to blow up.
And supposedly there was like a power surge right then, and they just happened to like switch the door so that you couldn't open it from the inside.
Right, I forgot about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of crazy claims.
Are you guys still at the same percentage of certainty? Because nothing is compelling so far.
I told you, I don't. It doesn't sit right with me. I don't know.
Oh, it doesn't let me do the whole thing. Okay, hang on. I'm just going to read this. This is a quote from Warner von Braun. It's commonly believed that man will fly directly from the Earth to the moon, but to do this, we would require a vehicle of such gigantic proportions that it would prove an economic impossibility. It would have to develop sufficient speed to penetrate the atmosphere and overcome the Earth's gravity. Having traveled all the way to the moon, it must still have enough fuel to land safely and make the return trip. Furthermore, in order to give the expedition a margin of safety, we would not use one ship alone, but a minimum of 3. Calculations have been carefully worked out on the type of vehicle we would need for the nonstop flight from Earth to the moon and return. The figures speak for themselves. Each ship would be taller than New York Empire State Building and weigh about 10 times the tonnage of the Queen Mary, or some 800,000 tons.
Okay, that last part of the quote sounds familiar. That's wild.
I mean,
different times back then.
I'm wrong. He could have been wrong. It was like, you know, he's talking, but
I still don't buy it. I mean, we've gone to Mars, right?
Or we went to,
or did we not go to Mars?
Island in Greenland or wherever.
Yeah.
But how about? Go ahead.
Me? Oh, I just was like, I just don't know. There's just so much conflicting stuff. Something's not right. I don't know what it is.
For sure.
Yeah. One of the ones that's interesting to me, and maybe we can close on this, is Sergeant Carl Wolf. Do you guys know his story?
No.
So Sergeant Carl Wolf, he came out and basically he was working at NASA, and he publicly came out and said that when he was there as an airman, he was shown photos that the U.S. government had of a base or structures that they had discovered on the moon. And he was willing to, when he came out and testified and talked about this, he said, I'm coming forward with this information. I understand I might, my life may be in jeopardy as I come forth with this information, but I'm willing to testify under oath in front of Congress about these things that I've seen. And I believe that NASA has, there's a cover up and that the US has photos of structures and bases on the moon. And then he was hit and killed mysteriously by a car not long after, before he could testify before Congress.
My gosh.
And guess who was driving the car?
Who?
Hillary Clinton.
It's got to be, right?
I knew it.
She got
Hey,
Clinton.
I made that Hillary meme. That was pretty funny, huh?
Oh, you did? That's great. That's
Yeah.
cool. I didn't know you made it. I thought you pulled it off X.
That's
Awesome.
fun.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of holes in the moon story, but there's a lot of things that have been debunked as well that make sense. It's odd to me, again, that we don't have the tapes, that the technology is supposedly lost, that we haven't been back. But at the same time, there are a lot of things that add up. Maybe we could get there. Times of different technology is much better now than it used to be. I think it's worth us.
Can't even get through the firmament, bro.
Yeah, that's right. That needs an episode. The moon itself needs an episode. Is it hollow? Where did it come from? Are there bases? Are there not? And
Is it real?
is it real? Is the moon real? Technology. Yeah, exactly. And then also, on the vein of space, we need to talk about the Challenger mission and the conspiracies that surround that. Did those guys actually die? What are the odds that all of them had twins, if that's the case?
Oh yeah.
Things
I
like
forgot
that.
about
Oh yeah, that's weird.
Can we do one episode in the future where we all dress up as like Ollie G? Booyakasha.
Yeah.
Me Julie's ain't complaining.
Yeah, me Julie's ain't complaining.
Love it. Cool. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in to the Conspiracy Corner. Let us know in the comments. What do you think? Was the moon landing staged? Did we make it there the first time, second time? Have we made it there at all? And if you have any questions or good things you think we should cover and touch on in the next one, let us know. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share this with your friends. And we will see you in the next one.
Oh, go. I got something. We need to start announcing our next 100 days, our contest that we're doing.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So we are rolling out something fun to get our community involved. And we are going to be giving away $1,000 American, clarify, $1,000 cash to the Zion Media fan subscriber that recommends the best guest, like a future Lance, a future Alex Boyer. We're looking for somebody that is, faith-based, or they could be a sports figure, politics, culture, anyone that you guys think, I want that person on Zion Media. Or if you're watching this yourself and you're being like, I want to be on Zion Media, you could win yourself $1,000. What we're going to do is, over the next 100 days, we are going to open up our link tree, and there's going to be a Google form if you go in there, and it's going to be a place where you can click on it. You can go in there and fill out your information. You can fill out information on who the guest is, why you think they would be a great guest for Zion Media. And then we want you to either take out your phone and record yourself and give us a little explanation of why this person would be perfect for Zion Media as a guest, or do an audio. That we don't need a video, but we just want to hear it more. It's a lot easier to perceive what your intention is versus just clickety-clicking on that. So how it's going to work is we're going to filter those in. We're going to go through them, scrub them, the ones that we like. We're going to reach out, contact, do a little pre-interview, see if they're podcast worthy, and then we're going to platform them. We're going to put them on the show. And as we put these on, once we get 2 or 3 people on, we're going to open our socials up for voting, where you as the fans are going to help us determine who is the best guest. Over the course of the 100 days, whoever is voted in as the best guest, it's kind of a 50-50 criteria. We believe it. And then the votes will determine who the winner is for the $1,000. And 100 days from now, before December 21st,
we're going to get that $1,000 out. Someone will have some Christmas spending cash or some personal cash. So
Trevor, quick question. If I recommend, you guys should have Sylvester Stallone on your program, they need to introduce us to Sylvester Stallone. So
you got to be able to
just recommend somebody, and then it's like, not only do you recommend either yourself or somebody else, you got to bring them to the table.
Yep, you got to be the connector in chief.
If they know Tucker Carlson or someone big or like Elon Musk, they'd have to give us their number. Right.
Well, not only just give us their number, we want to call and be like, hey, David gave me your number. They need to make the connection. They need to help platform them.
Put us on a text thread. Put us on an email thread. You've got to be the connector in order to qualify.
Exactly.